Some advice for question 4 of the language exam. It's a tricky one. It's your 16-mark question. 16 marks available because you have to compare the effect of two texts. The question will always ask you to compare the effect of the language of two texts. And for the purposes of this one, I'm going to actually read you two excerpts from two texts. You might want to pause at certain points and make notes, because I'm going to give you an actual past question on this. First excerpt is from this text. It is an autobiographical novel by Laurie Lee, which is called Side with Rosie. Fantastic text. I'm going to read a little excerpt from that one. The second one, from 501 Must Visit Destinations. I'm actually going to read you the section on the Cotswolds. Now, incidentally, there will always be a link between the texts that you're given in the language exam. And the Cotswolds, an area not too far from here, very, very beautiful, is the same place where Laurie Lee lived when he wrote his autobiographical novel. So that's very significant. Now, the past question I'm going to ask you is, how do the two texts use language to interest the reader? And I'm going to ask you to focus especially on the type of descriptive language that's there. So I'd like you to write that one down and annotate it, if you will. Annotate that question, and then I'll read you the excerpts. Okay, so first one. It's actually from the first chapter. I was lost, and I didn't know where to move. A tropic heat oozed up from the ground, rank with sharp odours of roots and nettles. Snow clouds of elder blossom banked in the sky, showering upon me the fumes and flakes of their sweet and giddy suffocation. High overhead ran frenzied larks, screaming as though the sky were tearing apart. For the first time in my life I was out of the sight of humans. For the first time in my life I was alone in a world whose behaviour I could neither predict nor fathom. A world of birds that squealed, of plants that stank, of insects that sprang about without warning. I was lost, and I did not expect to be found again. I put back my head and howled, and the sun hit me smartly on the face, like a bully. Okay. Second, note the image of a beautiful thatched cottage, which the Cotswolds is famous for. Here we go. The limestone hills of the Cotswolds are one of England's main tourist attractions. They encompass some of England's prettiest countryside and are peppered with picturesque villages, all built in the local stone, which varies from honey-coloured to silvery grey. Cirencester was a busy town in Roman times, when it was the second in importance only to London. Today it remains a bustling town and is the de facto capital of the South Cotswolds, dominated by a splendid 15th century church. Burton-on-the-Water is possibly the prettiest of the Cotswold villages, with its many low stone bridges crossing the little River Windrush. Okay. Two very, very different texts. What I'd like you to do now is to write down an answer to that question I asked you before. How do the writers use language to interest the reader? And I want you to focus particularly on the idea that they're using descriptive language, very descriptive language. Tune into the next video to see what I made of it, and to compare perhaps some of the things that you wrote about. Okay.